What's going on, YouTube? This is Luke with Endless Entrepreneurs, just coming to you guys with another video. Tonight, I'm going to talk about Q2 wrap up, kind of what the results were for my eBay business, where I landed, where I am, my 100K challenge, and then also kind of talk about the adjustments I'm going to make here in the third quarter to make sure I hit my goals. If you're new to my channel, I am a part-time eBay seller, primarily sell clothing, men's clothing, and I am a full-time corporate finance analyst. So I build my business in my spare time. If you're used to coming to my channel, you see this background is a little unconventional. I am actually at my parents' house in upstate New York, traveling for the weekend, playing in a basketball tournament with my dad. Actually pretty excited about that. It's going to be a really fun week. I'm working remotely for my finance job tomorrow and Monday. So I'm going to be gone for 4 days. So you might see some different backgrounds to my videos, but I plan to try to keep up and stay in touch. I don't want Q2 to get too far in the past before I do a wrap up on it and kind of show you guys under the hood and, you know, the profitability and everything that I don't show on the normal monthly basis, show the nitty gritty of the P&L and kind of how I keep track of my business and things like that. So let me just jump in the chat real quick, make sure everyone can hear me all right, especially my new setup. Hi, Pamela. Hi, Marcos. Hi, April. Hi, Jessica. Everyone hear me okay? Is my sound decent? Definitely being in a new room and a new place, I want to make sure my setup's okay for this. Looks like everyone can hear me all right, which is good. Awesome. All right, so what I'm going to do for this video is first I'm just going to jump over straight to my profit and loss statement. I'm going to show you guys how I keep track of my business, and I update this document every quarter just to stay on top of it so that when I get to the end of tax time, it's a lot easier on my accountant because it's already in one place, and then we're just tweaking little things here and there, adding all the deductions that come after. So what I'm about to show you is my pre-tax profit and loss statement. So none of the extra deductions like mileage and all those things. It's just going to be the nuts and bolts of the operating profit of the business. So that's what I'm going to show you guys and show you how I track it. And before I show you, just to remind you, part of my 100K goals, I want to sell $100,000 of gross, so total on eBay for this year, and I want to net 50%. So I want to net $50,000 of operating profit, so pre-tax income. So let me share my screen here. Everyone should be able to see now. And here we go. All right, so this is the simplistic profit and loss statement that I use in my spreadsheet. I work in spreadsheets all day, so this is kind of my, this is where I'm comfortable. This is kind of my natural environment. So what I do is I have each month broken out, and I have the basic building blocks. And for anyone who's new to a statement like this, I'm just going to keep it very simple. So I apologize if you already know, but I just want to make sure that everyone understands and follows this. So I always start with the top line, which is gross sales. And so it's the total gross sales each month. So total sales that I make on eBay. I don't charge shipping, so I have free shipping. So that's all rolled into here. If you were to do this and you charge shipping, really your shipping price that you collect from buyers should be in this gross sales line. At least it should be above, it's in the revenue line because you're bringing money in. So just keep that in mind. If you do charge shipping and you're using this template, which I do have on my website, guys, it's in the description of the video. This template's for free. You can go to the resource page on the website, endlessentrepreneurs.com, and grab it. But so if you do charge shipping and you want to use this template, just make sure your shipping dollars that you charge plus your gross sales go in this line altogether. So I track that each month, and then I take my cost of goods. And what I do for cost of goods is, and I'll flip over to my tracking spreadsheet, which I share with you guys each month. So each month I keep track of the items I purchase and the total cost of those items. And then I get an average cost per item. And then that averages out for the entire year. So you see with my bulk order and everything else, I have almost 4,600 items I bought this year for an average cost of $2.37. So this, it's called average costing. That's one of three options really you have when doing your taxes and determining what your true cost of goods. One of the other common options is to keep one line item for every single piece of inventory you buy. You track the actual cost of it through the entire life cycle. I don't do that for simplicity of, I just buy so many items. They're all in a approximate price band, you know, like that $2 to like $10 range, that I'd rather average it down. And especially now that I'm getting into bulk buying, it's a lot easier to average cost. So for tax purposes and for cost of goods sold with a profit and loss view, I'm always going to average it out. So right now I'm at $2.37. And that's down from, I was at about $4.50 until I bought that bulk purchase at $1.15 per unit with 3,000 units. So of course that's going to drive it down. And I make another bulk purchase hopefully in August that'll drive it, keep it down hopefully. And the whole goal is to keep acquiring inventory cheaper and cheaper so that my profit goes up and up. So I just wanted to explain where this number I'm about to show you comes from. It's calculated here. I'm using that $2.37. Want to be fully transparent. And what I'm doing is I'm taking that number times the amount of items I sold in the month. So I sold, for example, in January, 239 items. So that makes times $2.37. That means my cost of goods is $566. So we take total revenue less our cost of goods and then less our operating expenses. So those are really the three buckets, right? We have your gross sales, your cost of goods. If you take gross sales minus your cost of goods, that leaves you with a gross profit. So that's this line right here. So that's just those two things, right? Offset, and that leaves you the gross profit of $28,000 on $31,700. So year to date, through half the year, about almost $32,000 in sales. So I am technically $18,000 behind pace for my challenge. But when I made my business plan at the beginning of the year, I had planned to be at about 37,000. So I'm really only 5,000 behind where I thought I'd be because there's so much ramp up and upside in the fourth quarter. So I'd planned to offset 13,000. So I'm still a little behind where I planned, but I'm pretty optimistic that I'm going to make up for that. So we keep going down here. So I have my operating profit or operating costs. So those are like my monthly costs that they can fluctuate. They're not usually very fixed. They're all variable for the most part. Rent is the only one that I guess is kind of fixed. And you'll see here, so I have rent, I have supplies. So like my basic supplies like tape and mailing supplies and things like that. Now keep in mind, I bought most of mine in bulk at the end of last year. So I haven't had to buy too many yet this year. So the back half of the year, I might have this expense might go up a little bit, but that's where I'm at right now. This is the true shipping cost that I paid for the month. That's how much it cost me to ship all 239 items that I sold that month. Here's the true eBay fees I paid to eBay for those sales. And here's the PayPal fees. So these are the core nuts and bolts expenses of your eBay business. And that's why I track it here. So if you take, fundamentally on this statement, if you take your gross sales minus your cost of goods minus these expenses, you're left with what we call an operating profit, right? And then I have a percentage here just to break that out. So for the month of January, I operated exactly a 50% profit, which is what I want to be. That's my goal is 50%. And so each month it's tracking here. And as you can see, May and June went down pretty substantially. And I'll talk about that in a little bit why. But this allows you, it's pretty neat, it allows you to trend. And also I have down here just a little neat metric is the average shipping cost per item. And as you can see throughout the year, it's kind of gone down. And it's funny because I've just gotten a little better about optimizing each type of shipping and making sure that I'm saving every dollar possible and putting that back in my bottom line, making sure I'm being more profitable. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. I'm just going to pop over the chat really fast just to make sure that everyone's following along. Looks like we're good. All right, so let's just keep at it here. So I already talked about quarter one before. I've done one quarter one review, and I want to talk about quarter two mostly. So as you can see, April dropped off quite a bit. Like I peaked in March. That was the highest month ever as a reseller. I was at 6,400. I was pumped. I was excited. And then we hit what I guess I would call the summer slowdown, which I was not prepared for as far as the diversity in my inventory. That's one thing I made a mistake on is I didn't spend enough time getting summer, spring inventory, and my sales definitely suffered because of that, which I've learned from. And, I'm glad that I'm going through this on a part-time basis because I'm able to learn from that a little more risk-free. So, as we trend here, May was my worst month this year. I mean, it was just desolate. It was really tough. Now, the other factor here was this is when I got my bulk order in. So I got all 3,000 pieces in, and I spent the whole month listing LL Bean pants. And I think that when I did that, it really diluted also the fresh inventory coming in and stunted my sales even further than it had to be. I think if I had, in retrospect, if I had listed more single SKU items from Goodwills that I had sourced and mixed that in here and not just only list LL Bean. I also was traveling for like 6 days that month or 7 days. But if I had mixed and been a little more consistent with other things, I think my sales would have been a little stronger. So that's just something I have to deal with. And, it's something I learned from and hopefully I'll improve on it moving forward. June, you can see it started to pick back up, which is pretty positive, and July seems to be off to a pretty strong start. So I'm hoping that July lands over 6K and we get back on that upward momentum heading towards the end of the year. Pretty optimistic about that. I think I had a little over $200 in sales today, and it's been pretty steady. 4th of July was a little slow, but besides that, it's been pretty steady. So I want to kind of do a little walk down and talk about the expenses during this time because, obviously the fees are going to be less, but the problem is that this right here went up and my sales went down, and this is a pretty fixed fee. So the problem is when you have fixed fees, when your sales go down, you eat it a lot harder on margin. And as you can see here, I'm at 42%, which is pretty rough. And so, as this goes up, these sales go up, this price is going to stay constant, so the margin gets even higher. So hopefully that margin is going to keep climbing. Hope to get back. And here I was running so many sales to get my sales back up that I was sacrificing margin here. So, that's something that I've discovered you kind of just got to plan for is you need to price accordingly to get sales moving during the slow times. And so you're going to give up some margin. Whereas I would expect in September, October, November, December, I might be at 55, 56, 57% because I can charge a premium during this time. So it's just something to think about. It's very cyclical, especially with clothing, I'm noticing. And I've been spending a lot of time in the growth tab, really studying the trends of clothing. And I'm very optimistic about these last four and a half months. Looks like mid-August, it starts to pick back up a lot. So really, really excited about the back half to see what that entails. I'm just going to keep listing. So, as you can see in summary here, basically I netted from an operating profit perspective, I netted about $15,500, $573 at a 49% operating profit. So 1 percentage point below my goal. I feel like that's pretty solid. About 5,000 behind sales wise from where I thought I'd be. So need a little work to do there. But in summary, I feel pretty good about through quarter two. I've learned so much. I got to experiment my first bulk buy ever. I had no idea what I was doing. Got to dive headfirst into that with 4 pallets and figure things out. I've expanded into women's clothing very recently, so I'm starting to expand my niches even further. I think that I've streamlined, through the work of networking with other resellers like, 10K in the Bay and Prof Sales and Steve and Rakin and, Tino and all these guys in the community and Rockstar. And we just all talk and share processes. And the weekly show with Chris, 10K in the Base, helped a lot of just learning how to reduce costs, get more efficient, get more, productivity out of each minute of each day. And so I just super optimistic, and I can even see it in the data trends, right? As I look at my average shipping costs going down because I'm getting my process better there, those type of things are good indicators when I'm looking towards the back half of the year. So really excited. I am, however, and I'm going to flip back and stop sharing here. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to answer some questions real quick, and then I'm going to talk about what I'm doing. Let's see, 2 questions. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do differently in the third quarter, and I'll talk about what I've been doing and what my effort's going to be a little different. So Paul's asking, what % of gross sales is shipping? That's a good question. Let me look real fast and answer that. Wait, hold on. Well, it's 0 because I don't charge shipping. So I basically cook shipping into my price. So there's not really a percentage to give there. Sorry, hair in my mouth. Look. But let me address I'll answer questions here in a minute. So just hold them for a second. I'm going to talk about what I was doing. So my goals of output and productivity for quarter 1 and 2 were to list 350 items per month, right? Or unique items per month. And to basically scale that up. They're all going to be Goodwill single source when I first started the year out. Since then, I got a bulk buy, which kind of was a little different. I listed almost 2,000, about 2,000 pair of pants in about a 1 month period. So I've far blown out of the water the individual items I was going to list. So that's good, and it's a lot of upside. But now looking at the third quarter and the fourth quarter, I've decided I don't like leaving things to chance, and I'm not a big believer in changing goals. I set a goal at the beginning of the year to sell 100K and keep a 50% net profit. I'm only halfway through the year. So to me, instead of changing my goal to something realistic to hit, I'm going to change my effort to make sure that I hit my goal. And that's kind of how I view a lot of challenges and things like this is You don't adjust your goal, you adjust your effort. You adjust the things and the activities that you are going to do to make sure that you hit your goal. So for me, the adjustments I'm doing in quarter 3, the big one, and the one I want to talk about is I'm going to increase the amount of listings per month. Because of all the efficiencies I've gained, all the process stuff I've developed, I'm going to take from 350 listings per month to 450. And I'm doing that by listing 15 items each day. That gets me there no matter what. On a 30-day month, it gets me there. And on a 31-day month, I get kind of an extra day to play with. And I've been doing that every morning for the last like 2 weeks without any issues, getting 15 listings up, using my mobile phone, using the phone to take pictures, then create drafts and set them live at work. I've gained a ton of extra time and hours. So things like that, I think 450 is very realistic. So all of quarter 3, and definitely quarter 4, I'm going to stay at 450 items instead of 350 items. That's the biggest thing. The second big emphasis is I'm going to expand into women's clothing so that I can continue to source higher priced items. And I want to drive my average sale price up to about the $27, $28 mark. I'm going to really focus on that. I'm going to be listing a lot more suits. I'm going to be buying a ton more suits that are like middle of the road, like $40, $50, $60 price points, so that I can make sure that price goes up and maximizes my time. The women's clothing side of it, hopefully I'm going to find some $30, $40 ones. The shipping's even cheaper on them, so it'll help me keep that margin I'm looking for. And so those are really the 2 big adjustments I'm going to make. Is I'm going to keep everything else constant, but I'm going to adjust the amount of items per month in listing, and I'm going to adjust the sale price of the items I'm trying to source and list. So that's really my game plan. I'm going to stay the course and stay consistent. You guys know I talk all the time about being consistent. And so that's just, I'm going to keep staying the course throughout that. And I'm just really excited. It was fun to throw these numbers together. You wait all quarter to kind of throw them together and see how they land. And it was really fun to just see. I mean, all of last year, I think I did, actually, let me look what I did last year. So last year I sold $41,383 total for the entire year on eBay. So the fact that I'm only $9,000 or $8,500 away from matching last year's total is it's awesome. It's really got me really pumped up actually. So anyways, that's just kind of my thoughts. That's where I landed. Now I'll answer some questions. I appreciate you guys listening to me preach a little bit there. So I'm going to scroll back up and hit these questions. Marco said, what is the size of your storage? It's my next move. Still nervous about taking that step. Mine are 10 by 20. So I have 2 10 by 20 units. They cost me, like you said, about $144 a month. I have really cheap storage where I live in Charlotte. I'm very fortunate. Storage is a lot more expensive a lot of areas of the country. So just make sure you do your homework on that. And by the way, it was the best decision I ever made. Having the clutter-free home has just been huge for productivity for me. Lori says, everyone keeps saying list winter stuff all year, but in checking complete listings, very few winter item sweaters have sold in the past 6 weeks. Do you list winter items now? That's a great question, Lori. So I do list winter items all year round. And this is my basic philosophy on it, is I still sell a couple, and it only costs me worst case 10 cents per month to list that item. So all year it's going to cost me $1.20 to have it up for 12 months. So for me, that's such a low cost that it's worth it that the buyer finds it. And I'm going to give a perfect example today. I just listed a vintage starter Philadelphia Eagles jacket I found a couple weeks ago when I was on my road trip. I bought it for $6. I listed it. It's been out for like a couple weeks. It's the dead of the summer. It's those huge winter Parker coats, and it sold for $80 today. So that's why I do that, is because I think it's worth it to stock it up, and you never know when they're going to sell. Ryden Ross just asked, interested in putting my eBay listings on multiple platforms to get maximum exposure and the ideas. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of input on that, as I only sell on eBay. I haven't experimented with other platforms, and I don't really want to misguide you because I don't have a lot of expertise in that, unfortunately. Krillin, I find energy because I'm excited about what I do. I think that's really my secret, is I just love it. Like, I go to work and I have my day job, and I enjoy that for the most part, like anyone else that has its ups and downs. But my hobby is my business, and growing my business excites me, and watching it grow excites me. So putting in the hours is fun. It doesn't feel like work. So I mean, that's I think where I naturally find that energy, is just kind of the drive of that. And I appreciate the kind words, Krillin. I love the support. I love that you're always in the chat and cheering me on. You've given a lot of good advice, so I really appreciate that. What else we got here? See if any other questions. Deborah said, how many suit jackets do you sell on average per month? So single jackets, I mean, it's been pretty slow the last 2 months with them. Probably only sold like maybe 6 to 10 per month. Before that, I was selling like 20 to 25-ish, it seemed like, I think. And I'm just estimating right now. I'd have to go look it up, Deborah, to get the exact numbers. But it's definitely a small percentage of my sales, like 10% or less are suits and jackets and blazers. But when they hit, they're so big. The margins are so big that it really gives you a big lift. Josh has asked, do you include the sales tax in your cost of goods? So for this purpose, Josh, for the operating profit calculation, I do. When it comes to tax time, I actually have to break it back out just because of the way you list. You have to know the exact sales tax you paid. It's part of like the North Carolina stuff. But for this purpose, it's still a cost and it still does get deducted. So I make sure to roll that in. It's very minimal for them in my state. But yeah, it's in there. It's just easier for me to just take the whole receipt total, put it in with the total items that I bought. Paul, appreciate the kind words. Thank you. And yeah, I do have an advantage in the fact that I'm staying narrow. He's saying that I have an advantage because I'm not going too wide, and I'm slowly adding niches. The biggest advantage I have is I live in Charlotte, honestly. Like if I'm being completely honest, we have flat prices in Charlotte. So my cost of goods stays really low. Let's see what else. Shane said, on your way to your goal, always remember Pats were down 28-30 or 28-3. Shane, what I always remember is that the Giants beat the Patriots twice, so anything's possible. That's what I remember. I'm a diehard Giant fan here, so I remember the catch, and I remember the Patriots being undefeated. So I appreciate the motivation, though. Yeah, Drummer, I agree with you. Always list quality items no matter the season. Let's see what else. Appreciate that, Drummer. Yeah, you're hustling, buddy. I love it. Love to see some. You should post some of your results more often, Drummer. I love to see how your business is doing. Let's see. How do I ship suits, Morgan asked. So I ship suits usually in a poly bag, and a large percentage of the time they fit in a regional A box. Is what they mostly go in. Occasionally, if it's a high-end suit, I'll ship it in a priority box just to keep it safe. If it's kind of a middle-of-the-road suit, I'll just keep it in the poly bag. Let's see. Yeah, I see a lot of people commenting they love the hustle. Yeah, the hustle becomes the hobby, and it becomes kind of that passion and addiction. So it's not a bad thing to like. Let's see. Ryden said, how many items do you buy from a single Goodwill store on average? It's been going up a lot lately since I've been expanding into women's clothing. And like, for example, I think I spent $156 when I went thrifting the other day. I have that haul video recorded. I'll put out the next day or two, but I think that was like 30 some items. So I've been anywhere between 20 and 30 is what I expect nowadays when I go into Goodwill. Daisy said, how did you deal with eBay selling limits? How long did it take you to get your item limits increased to where you're at now? So Daisy, I've been selling for so many years that they've just steadily increased them over the time. I've only had to call once, and it was very early on. But I have found if you do call eBay and you have a good feedback record and a good history, you can get them to raise them pretty easily. So just give them a call. And if you don't get a great answer the first call again, talk to someone else. Warren said, have you done a video on sell suits? I am very intimidated about selling them. So I haven't done one on suits specifically, but I will do a tutorial video. It's been overdue for me to do a tutorial video. So, I'm going to write that down, Warren, and I'm definitely going to, I will do a tutorial video when I get back to Charlotte on how to list a suit from start to finish. I'll show the measurements I take, all the pictures, all of that. I'll do start to finish for you guys. Dyson, I think we should get you to sign your Under Armour shirt and give it away at 100 likes. I think that I'm going to avoid the whole signing bonanza and not sign too much right now. Hey, Turtle Trader, thanks for stopping in, man. Hope everything's going well. Carolyn said, Luke, you don't go to estate sales. I always pick up better suits there. Remember, the clothes are in estate sales before they hit thrift stores. Carolyn, I've gone to a couple of estate sales in Charlotte. The problem I run into around Charlotte is most of them are in like the older part of town where they have really, really big houses, but they're old, and they tend to have that mothball smell in them, or they have moth holes in them. And I have a really hard time getting that smell out. And so I've really had some bad luck there. I know I'm definitely leaving money on the table, Carolyn, by not doing that. But my Goodwills are just so lucrative right now. It's just when I look at my time and the time spent with being that I'm only part-time, I just would rather know I'm going to go to a Goodwill and get 30 items than go to an estate sale and maybe come up empty. DJ said, I have my inventory all over the house, even in my kids' closets, but my hubby is building me shelves in the garage. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's how I was for a long time. When I forced to get my storage unit when I moved to North Carolina, and it was like the best thing that ever happened to me. Oh, okay. Our Warren just said, sorry, I was inquiring about brand, styles, and color. So, Warren, I do have 2 videos out. One's about brands, or not brands. One's about materials, and one's about patterns, my favorite ones. Check those out. I have another one that's due to come out with brands. So maybe I'll bump that one up. I'll do one on brands. Maybe while I'm here in New York, I'll do one on my favorite suit and blazer brands to sell. Ryan said, by the way, Luke, I would avoid good till cancel listings unless it is multi-quantity. eBay seems to bury listings. You can send automation rules if you're concerned about time. So Ryan, I was talking about this on a different video. I'm not sure I agree with that. And I'm not trying to be argumentative. All of the big, huge sellers that are very successful all use good till cancel. And economically, I don't think that they would continue to do that if they actually punished you and buried your listings. I do have a lot of multi-quantity, so I have to do good till canceled for a lot of them anyways. And since I've shifted it to good till canceled, I haven't really noticed a difference in sales, unless it's overly contributing to the summer slowdown. But I really don't think so. And I'm friends with a lot of big sellers who actually have good till canceled. So I would challenge that thinking a little bit. I think if your store isn't too big, it's a good idea to relist every 30 days anyways, because you can update your pricing, you can check your listings, your keywords as you learn. But for me, I'm almost 2,000 listings. It's just easier having them good till canceled. Ed said, what are your thoughts on GoDaddy bookkeeping? I just found out about it today, and it seems to eliminate the need for long spreadsheets. I've heard a lot of good things about GoDaddy bookkeeping. I just prefer, because I use my tracker every month, it just rolls so easily into that profit and loss statement, and I can work with my accountant on it. It just is easy for me. I always recommend to everyone, you should use the system that you're actually going to utilize. And what I mean by that is, if you are motivated to update GoDaddy and use it and make sure it's up to date, then use that. Because the more important thing is that you have, basically the more important thing is that you have good records. So whatever is going to motivate you to keep good records, you use that system. If it's a spreadsheet, use that. If it's GoDaddy, use that. I mean, that's just what I encourage everyone. For me, I also use it for analytics because I like to analyze my business. And it's just fun for me because I'm kind of a data nerd. So that's kind of what I do. And Thrifty said, do you get dinged for cancel? I think you mean good to canceled. I don't think so. But again, I'm not an expert in the search algorithm. And I'm not sure that anyone could actually prove that either or is true because no one knows the algorithm. I've heard Casey talk about it a little bit. We've had some discussions about it. So there's definitely some merit to that. It gives you a fresh listing ID. But I also have faith that eBay's algorithm is smart enough to see that it's the exact same title, word and letter for letter with the same pictures. Because keep in mind, guys, when you recreate the listing, I'm going to guess in their server, in their database, that picture image they have saved in their server still has the same number. It still has the same tag on it. So even though you relist, I would think that the unique identifier attached to the picture is still going to be the same. This is just me guessing, guys. So I'm not an expert in their search engine. I'm just guessing. And I think talking to Jason T. Smith would be great. Hopefully he has some good content on it. I should probably go check out his channel on it. But yeah, I haven't had any issues with a good till cancel. I don't notice my sales tanking or anything like that. So we'll see. All right, guys. Josh asked, how many shelving units fit in your storage unit? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 up right now in one, and I can probably fit 3, maybe 4 more. That's interesting, right? Ryden's saying to use good till cancel for a year, and my old inventory never sold until I relisted. Just my experience, though. So I had an item that I've had for 18 months sell yesterday, and one that I had for almost 20 months sell 2 days ago. So yeah, I mean, I think this is what I say. I'm not an expert in it, and I encourage everyone to test different things to see what works, right? Like the best way to learn is to test, just like Ryden's saying right there that he tested it, right? That's the best way you can learn and adapt and grow your business. So I encourage, and I'm always excited to see people testing different things and taking the initiative to figure it out. So that's pretty awesome. Turtle asked if my storage units are climate controlled. They are not. This is my second full summer with it, and I don't have any issues. I use clear poly bags, and they're sealed with tape, and then they go in bins that are sealed. And so far, I haven't had any issues in 2 years. Christian asked, do the people you work with know you're endless entrepreneur? At my current job, no. My previous job, they did. And I don't really advertise it. I don't think it'd be an issue if they knew, because, I mean, like I said, I feel like I do quality work for my company. So, but yeah. All right. Paul said, I read in the eBay developer docs that changing the category on a listing essentially flushes the casino history and starts it fresh. Now, Paul, that may be very true. And that's the whole thing, like search engines and databases, and like there's just so many nuances to how they read data and read unique identifiers. I mean, I work with SQL most of the day at work and different sales cubes type stuff, so I'm fairly familiar with big data. I mean, it's just so hard to know unless you know the guts and how it actually works. What I do, guys, if you're ever worried about it, is do a general search for an item you just listed, and then do one for one you listed 3 months ago, and just see if it comes up. Like I have some pretty specific items, like, you know, NFL apparel or something, and I'll just do a search that's fairly specific to my item and see if it pops up on the first couple pages. I think that's like the best way to test it and feel better about it. I'm not quite a database nerd, Ty. I just have to know. I have to know how the data flows, where to get it from, like how it comes in the system. So like, I'm a finance analyst, so naturally I have to know where to find the data, how it flows. But I've innately kind of picked up some of the other habits along with databases, figuring out how they work, just because you kind of have to. So. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. I'm at my parents' house. I know my dad's probably wanting to get some sleep. He's in the other room. I'm going to go spend some time with the family, and then I got to get some sleep. I got to work all day remotely tomorrow. I'm going to try to play a little basketball, and then I have a basketball tournament all weekend. So hopefully I'll give you guys some footage of the basketball tournament. Definitely will have my haul video out that I pre-recorded before I left, and I'll try to get that suit one out for you guys. So have an awesome weekend, guys. Appreciate you guys following. We got 67 watching live. Thank you very much. If you don't mind, hit that like button below. If you need any supplies for your business or wonder about what I use, I have them in the description. Feel free to check them out. And as always, I appreciate you guys' support. Here's to an awesome Q3. Cheers, everyone. And thanks, Clear and Clutter, for that support. I really, really appreciate it. Have an awesome time, guys. Have a great weekend, and we will talk soon.